This is the SPY. I have to admit that I wrote most of this 20 years ago or more, and I was in favor of it. I think it's outlived its usefulness. The purpose of the SPY district at the time, and remember, this was back around 2000, so it's 18 years ago or so, long time. I don't think the town center was a cornfield then, but it wasn't much more than a cornfield. It was the old shopping center. And Kenwood Road was not what it is today. And Sycamore Township really wanted to grow and really wanted to attract businesses and people who wanted to live in Sycamore Township. And so we wrote SPY. And it accomplished its purpose. Its purpose was to relax the strict controls that most developers, whether they're residential or commercial, were held to. And they couldn't go above certain heights. They couldn't go closer to the property line. They couldn't do a lot of things. And SPY relaxed a lot of that and allowed a developer a lot of latitude about how they were going to develop and go up and out. But there was a caveat in this, and it was understood at the time, and maybe it's dimmed a little bit over the ages, over the past decades, and that was, we will give you something to come to Sycamore Township, but you have to give us something back. So we'll give you another 2 floors of office, but you have to give us something back, like more green space, or something innovative, something that works for us. And as I said, I think the SPY district has worked, but it's kind of outlived its usefulness. I think it's being abused now because it's creating a little bit of a monster, and this is what's happening in getting our high densities and high buildings. On the bottom of this slide, I can sign this. I had a note that the applicant recently stated that a large-scale office complex, and I hope I'm quoting this correctly because I was having a little time taking notes sitting back there, that a large-scale office complex within the SPY district could be constructed without the need for zoning approvals from the township administration. I spent a little time this morning rereading SPY, rereading PUD, and rereading the zoning ordinance. Remember, it's about 200 pages. I came to the conclusion, and I think Harry or Gray will certainly need to look at this, but my understanding is that this statement by the applicant is incorrect. That if the applicant follows all of the rules of the SPY, which is height limitations, density limitations, setbacks, and all that sort of thing, it's true that he can go to the Board of Zoning Appeals for approval and does not have to come to the Zoning Commission or to the Township Trustees. So it's a shortcut process that moves projects along, puts a great deal of responsibility on the zoning or on the BZA, because they're usually used to dealing with decks and fences and things like that. But again, I think in the past it's worked okay, and but you still have to come back to the township. There's no free passes or pass go sort of things on this. I will not go into the rest of the SPY regulations and standards, but just as in the PUD, there are a number of standards that you as trustees have to take a look at and make sure that the proposed project is compliant with lighting influences, significant damage to the neighborhood, destruction of prominent features. Some things aren't applicable here, because remember, we were working with both the northern township and the southern township, as well as Reading Road. And they're really different at that time, back around 2000 or so. They were really different. So we were trying to balance these things out. Dealing with soil erosion, stream situations, and things like that clearly aren't applicable here in this instance. Here's the last one: the detrimental cumulative effects of incremental development decisions in suburban centers corridors, neighborhoods, and villages. That's really land use planner speak, but it's important then that you be able to look at these things and apply them to the subject project. Okay, land use planning. I was there when it started. Several other people were there as well, and we created a land use plan, and then in the year 2002, we updated it. And we made sure that the update, we weren't happy with the initial document, but we made sure that the update was collaborative and transparent, and that's a term I've been using lately, and I'll probably use it here several times. But our purpose at that time was to spread out, as it were, the responsibility and the blame, if you want to look at it that way, and get as many people and leaders and stakeholders involved in this process that we could. So the first thing we did, rather than start the plan, was to set up a process. And the process was called the Kenwood Progress Plan. Not very imaginative or creative, but it made the point. And I'm going to ask your patience. I'm going to read the names of the people who were on that progress plan. It was created, and it was with the result in September of 2002. This committee made a report, and on that Kenwood Progress Plan committee were Dick Kent, Cletus McDaniel, and Cliff Bishop, the three trustees. The committee members were Rex Horan. He has a building right now, I think, somewhere. At the time, Rex was the manager of the Sycamore Plaza. Greg Pansero, he was and still is the owner of Trio's Restaurant. Robert Schuler was a resident at that time. So all of his future political time was to come later. Lori Thompson was a resident. Wanda Wagner was the general manager of Kenwood Town Center. And Mark Wellinghoff was a resident. Michael Behrens was the township administrator. Greg Bickford was the new kid on the block, was the zoning administrator. And Dick Kent was a trustee. Paul Coulter, who was an employee of our firm, was on it, and my name was at the bottom. So we had a progress plan. That progress plan led into the land use plan. And again, we had a lot of public hearings, we had a lot of input, and I'm going to take the luxury of reading the names again. The township trustees were, again, Richard Kent, Clete McDaniel, and Cliff Bishop. The committee members changed a little bit. Claire Holthouse, these are all residents. Donna Johnson, Ed Wendell, Ray Seitz, and Greg Panzera again. These were all played role of residents in this. Oh, thank you. Sorry. The township staff, and they oversaw our work, was again Mike Behrens, Greg Bickford, and Paul Coulter, who was a representative of our firm. The zoning commission, an important body in all of this, was Tom Willingham, Rich Barrick, and Roger Friedman are still here. I'm amazed at the strength of their character. George Tenike and Jerry Thaman was on the zoning commission, and the Board of Zoning Appeals, Tom Weedman. Was this your introduction, Tom, into?
No, I was actually on planning and zoning with you, I think.
Were you?
Yeah, before 6 years before I became
Okay.
a member of Board of Zoning.
Skip Merton, Pat Stern, Tom Cronenberger, and Jim Donnelly. So those were the individuals, and those are the people who drove this thing along. We ended up with a document that's roughly 120 pages long. Way too long to even try to go into it. But we've always had three guiding principles, and these are presently on the website of the Planning and Zoning Committee on the township website. First and foremost is to support and protect the residential neighborhoods. If you look around, that has always been there. Encourage private enterprise or job growth within clearly defined areas, because the township wanted jobs, they wanted commercial, properties. And also then to provide the necessary infrastructure improvements, land use controls, and funding for the implementation. So those are three important principles. I'll skip a little bit in here. This is the Sycamore Township Land Use Plan. Just read, and I know I'm cherry picking on this, but somebody else can choose to interpret it a little bit differently. But in the introduction to the plan, remember it's over 100 pages, there's a discussion that preserving and maintaining the established single-family residential uses through traffic improvements and effective control of non-residential development. The underlining is my emphasis. The second part of that, again, my underlining, is to acquire an attractive and visually coordinated character, one which is able to offer a certain level of identity, the Kenwood identity, and sense of place currently and in the future. And again, that's my emphasis added. I think I could probably just comment at this point in time that the sense of place and the level of identity, in my own mind, in my view, is not supported by the proposed capital development. Now, why is land use plan important? First of all, as part of the zoning ordinance, the trustees shall, not should, may, or could, but the trustees shall consider those original 10 standards that I talked about. So why is a land use plan important? I don't know about everybody else, but I think residences and businesses rely on the credibility of the plan. And they look at it as a roadmap to the future for themselves, buying, selling homes, starting a business, maintaining a business, or whatever. Secondly, residences and businesses make long-range, 10-year, 15-year, 20-year, economic and quality of life decisions when they buy a house or start a business. The zoning commission, I know,